me, there was a little bit of a technical glitch in terms of which screen was showing. So, but anyway, let's continue on. So first, a little bit about zAgile. zAgile was founded in 2006, and it's based in the beautiful and sometimes foggy San Francisco. And it was founded with a vision to improve collaboration across cross-discipline teams by integrating their tools and processes. zAgile's Wicked Smart platform is open source, and it's focused around integration of applications across the enterprise. It allows teams to use their own tools and best practices, but still be able to collaborate together and share knowledge in an efficient manner. We are primarily focused on Salesforce and Atlassian tools towards bridging the gap between sales, support, services, and product development. And our partners include companies like Atlassian, Salesforce, Zendesk, Jive, and HP. And then finally, we also urge you to check out some press in InfoWorld and SD Times about zAgile. So now let's move on to customer support and our constituents for this particular integration. And we want to talk about what customer support tries to or strives to accomplish. First of all, they want to be able to handle customer requests efficiently. Second, they want to be able to turn these requests around as rapidly as possible. And of course, they want these requests, they want to ensure SLA compliance, and they want all of this ultimately should result in customer satisfaction and referenceability. So those are the key objectives of customer support. And what are the challenges? So first of all, you can see on the left, there are numerous sources of input. Customers may report problems via phone, email, portal, social media. Now, if you're able to integrate all of these sources into all of these different forms of inputs into a single system, you still are challenged by having to collaborate across teams internally that are using all different types of tools in product management, development, QA, IT, release engineering, and so on. So it becomes fairly difficult in tracking resolution of problems that are coming in and trying to figure out where things stand so that you're able to provide some feedback to customers in a timely manner. The value proposition of zAgileConnect then is really to improve efficiency for customer support. It's a very customer support driven product. It improves collaboration between support and engineering. As you'll see, it will allow you to share share knowledge, information without having to go across different applications. As a result, it reduces time for tracking customer issues. So basically, you can stay within one system, in this case, Salesforce, without having to go back and forth in tracking what issues are without as well as in communicating overall or collaborating with internal teams. And then, of course, there's analytics. When you have information that's happening across systems, or when you have activities that are happening across systems, then how do you combine information from different systems and still try to figure out what the analytics in terms of how things are? So in this particular case, for example, combining account information and case information along with what's happening in JIRA to an issue across a particular release, combining all of that and still be able to have some analytics that ultimately reflect on customers' SLA and the timeliness of issue resolution for them. So before we get into the demo, I just want to point out some of the things that we will show you here. And again, as I mentioned before, the key focus here is really for the support agent. It's driven from Salesforce. So what are some of the things that you'll be able to do using zAgileConnect without having to go back and forth across applications? So you can create and update Jira issues from Salesforce. We will show you how you can, provide the context of a particular case and an account and a contact to anybody working in Jira on that particular issue. Of course, there are attachments and comments that you can exchange between Jira and Salesforce. You can track issue progress in Salesforce case via chatter. So that's one of the other things that's important, because now even in Salesforce, you don't have to go to the case itself constantly to figure out what's happening to any related issues. If you're following the case, then in chatter feeds, you'll see if any activity or any action has been taken to the related Jira issue. And then, of course, we'll talk about the case and account related metrics that you can have in Jira dashboards. So now let's actually move on to the demo. So as a starting point, what we have set up for you for today is basically a customer reporting a problem. And we'll use email just for convenience. So an email is sent to zsupport@zagile.com. And it's basically some request related to product evaluation, okay? So we've got this set up, obviously, is such that the email will automatically be parsed. And as it's sent, I can take a look here. And I see that a new case has been created. So some of the defaults are already there. The case owner has been assigned contact name, account name based on the email address that was matching. But what you'll also see, for example, is that a Jira issue is automatically created here for this case. Now that's optional. Basically, you can choose to auto-create Jira issues when case is created through any means, whether it's through email or whether you're doing it manually. Or you can also explicitly create Jira issues. So we have set the option to automatically create, but we can also, for example, here, go and create a Jira issue. And based on the projects that have been assigned to support agents, so we can choose a project issue type, for example. Maybe I'll choose task issue type, a different priority. You can modify, for instance, a summary and description if you need to, but whatever is associated with the case is automatically pasted here for you. You can also attach existing files. So one of the things that we had done also is in the email that was sent, there's an attachment associated with it, a screenshot. So you may want to, for example, create an issue and say, go ahead and attach any existing file to that issue and send that out there for engineering. Now, another option for you here is that you can link an existing issue. So there may be scenarios where, for example, a case may relate to something that's already been reported and someone's working on it. And so you can go ahead and, if you know what the issue ID is, you can go ahead and link to that issue as well. So this way you can track, for this case as well, any resolution of an issue that may pertain to it. So one of the things that I want to point out here, you're looking at is that we'll also focus on this is the support for many-to-many relationships between case and issues. So here, for example, this case is already reflecting its relationship to 3 different Jira issues. So now let's take a look at the Jira issue itself. So for here, you'll see again, as we had pointed out earlier, I mean, the summary and description automatically copied for you. But also what's important here is that, the case context exists within the issue. And this is basically whatever it is that you want to provide for the engineer that will be working on this issue. So any context that should be available to them can be selected in the configuration. So in this case, for the account, we might want to let internal teams know the account type, industry, and for example, for contact, we may want to let them know some contact information like business phone, email, title, etc. There may be other things like case origin, reason, type. Those can be reflected here based on whatever is chosen for that case. Although since it was automatically created, the reason and type do not yet have not been assigned values. And then of course the issue can be auto-assigned using JIRA issue rules, but let's just do that here. So I've assigned it to myself. Now if I go back here to the case and if I refresh this, you'll see, for example, that it will always reflect real-time information. So the issue assignee is Agile, so it's been updated. Now, conversely, if I want to do the same here, for example, I want to update the case type to say it's a question and instructions are not clear. So if I save it, you will see that reflected within the JIRA issue. So we go back and refresh the issue, and case reason and case type are reflected here, okay? Now let's continue with the next one, just to provide some context around what will happen in this case where we sent the attachment. So the same thing as you would expect, case context is also accessible for this issue, but this one also includes the attachment because when we created this issue, we explicitly asked to send attachment to this. And then finally, in this case here, because this was an existing JIRA issue and it may already have association to other cases, but we want to link it to this. Now you can see, for example, that this issue has relationship to 4 different cases, one that we had recently linked with. Now, again, for each one of the cases that it relates to, there's context here. But in this case, the engineer working on this particular case or this particular issue at least has an understanding of all of the different customers and cases that are potentially impacted. So that's the some of the relationships that we've talked about in terms of how you can start, in terms of, without having to leave a case, how you can create issues and how you can start to send attachments and stuff fairly easily. Some of the other things you can do, for example, is you can also edit certain issue attributes, without having to go into JIRA. So if I wanted to, for instance, point out that this particular issue, this particular case or reported case is really in the context of a release and, maybe it affects a server component, then I can update that right here. And again, coming back into the issue itself, you'll see the versions affected and the component affected here. So basically, it's a matter of convenience in this case for the support agent to not have to go back and forth and updating if they need to provide some information for the issue itself once it's created. Now, let's talk about some of the other things that you can do here without having to leave case. So one of the more common things is to share comments. So what we do here is we provide a way for you to use hashtag JIRA. So in this case, you can have comments associated with a case, but you may not always want to share those comments with internal teams. So this allows you to use explicit hashtag so that if you want to not only share a comment, but you want to share a comment, related to a specific issue, so you can actually also use the hashtag and the issue ID for example, 106 that we just created to say customer needs info ASAP. And so you'll see, for example, that we go to that issue, actually it's here, and the comment will be posted. So this allows you a way to, basically start collaborating with the internal teams that are working on the resolution from, within the context of the case itself, from within Salesforce. Now, within the comment, you'll also see, for instance, not just the comment, but also the signature, because an issue could be related to multiple cases, and vice versa. A case could be related to multiple issues. We provide the signature, so you have a way of knowing, where it's coming from. So again, we could respond to Salesforce the same way, and we can also, in this case, put in the case ID if there were multiple cases associated with it, and we only want to send comment back to a single case. And back again, you'll see the comments, the comment exchange is starting to happen on both sides. So here in the comment section, can't reproduce, etc., along with the issue ID and the user in this case that actually was logged in. So now you've got easy comment exchange happening. Same thing with attachments. We already talked about one way you can send attachment is when you're creating an issue and you can say, automatically send an attachment to that issue. But you can also, if you have multiple attachments and you want to choose which one to send, you can select a particular issue that you want to send it to. For example, ZC 106 that doesn't have any, then we could, actually pick, which particular attachment that is relevant to them, and then just check it and send it out there. So it's a way to, again, provide some additional information to the engineering teams without having to go back and forth. And then also on this side, you'll see, for instance, the same capability. I mean, it's also very likely that the teams may want to send back something, either some updated jar file or whatever. So here you can click on the case that you want to send it to. So if you have multiple cases here, then you can select a specific one, and then if there are any attachments associated with this particular issue, then you can select that and send it, and the attachment will show up in the case itself. So far what we have shown you are a way for the support agent to automatically create issue, automatically track them. So for instance, as things start to happen here, the issue gets assigned, or let's say that we're actually starting to resolve it. As we resolve the issue, we can point out to Salesforce, or maybe add a comment to Salesforce that says we are resolving it because we can't reproduce it. So you will see all of that getting updated within the context of the case itself. So here, for example, there's a number of different places where this can become evident. ZC 106 is resolved and fixed, who's the assignee, so that level of information exists here. And then also, the other thing that we had pointed out earlier is that we provide, basically feeds into Chatter. So you can actually specify which JIRA issue events that you want to subscribe to. And so if you're following the case, in this case, this case, then any related issue events will be published. So it's not just within the context of the case here, but even outside of it. The chatter feed will include information related to the issue. So here, Zagile is resolved 106, and whatever the comments were associated with it. Here, Zagile is updated, the version and component. So, and this was actually done within case itself, but since it's related to the issue, it's also captured here. So it's up to you to subscribe to specific issue events that you might consider relevant that you want to track. And that also allows you to get the updates without having to constantly go in and take a look. So, and then lastly, we also want to point out, for example, we talked about the dashboard. So within Jira itself, you can create dashboards that are specific to information pertaining to accounts and case activity within Jira. So we provide a set of bundled reports for convenience, and these are out of the box, so you can capture them in your dashboard. And then, so you've got issue status by account, you've got Salesforce issues by status, um, total issues by account, open issues by account, and there's a couple of others. But this allows you to get a sense of what are all the different report or customer problems that are being reported within Salesforce, within, in this case, Service Cloud, that, have any relationship to Jira and that are creating internal Jira tasks or issues. And also what the status is of all of these. So now let's move on to some of the new features that we also want to show you that are actually going to be available in the second quarter, so within the next few weeks. So one of them, and again, the focus, just to emphasize, is on making the support agent, as independent as possible in being able to access information and being able to collaborate without having to go back and forth across multiple applications. So one of the features that we've added now is search. So within the context of a case or anywhere from within Salesforce, you can now start to actually just do search. So when you have a case that's reported, you can go and search for keywords just to see if there are any Jira issues that are related to that case. So that's the first thing. So here we can see, for example, that there were 3 other issues that were, Jira issues that have been logged related to a problem that's very similar to what this case might be. So that's the first thing, is searching Jira within Salesforce. The second one is that we also will support issue detail within Salesforce. So if you looked at the examples before, if I want to go to the issue, it automatically takes me to Jira. But now you'll have the option to just view the issue details within Salesforce without having to go to Jira. So here, this will, as long as, based on whatever the particular user has access to in Jira, whatever issue fields are accessible to that user, you'll be able to see all of those fields in a fair amount of detail. And also, it will give you not only the issue details, but any subtasks and any linked issues that are associated with that particular Jira issue. And then finally, if you really do still want to go to Jira, you can do that here. But this still allows you to kind of stay within the context of Salesforce and look at the rest of the details if you want to investigate further. So this capability is available not just from search, but also, for example, the same way as, like, if you have a case here, and if you have some Jira issues associated with the case, you click on the issue, and you can see the details without having to go to Jira. So that's the second feature. And the third one has to do with mapping. So one of the things that we've shown you so far is that when you create an issue, summary and description are automatically sent from case. But we've also got a lot of scenarios where people want to send some additional information, for example, environment or some other custom attribute that you are capturing within case that you want to send to JIRA. So what we allow you to do there is you can take the case fields that you select to send to JIRA, you can configure them, and then you can also, from that list, map specific fields to whatever attributes are appropriate within JIRA issue itself. So close date, and it will try to match up based on the type. So for close date, for instance, it will bring all the date fields, and if there are any text attributes, then it will match them up to any text fields. So this will allow you to basically not only capture whatever the case attributes are and send them to JIRA, but also keep them updated. So if the environment or any other field is updated within case, then in this case, it will be possible for you to make sure that the JIRA information is also showing that updated data. So those are some of the new capabilities. Let's see. Now let's go back to the demo or the slide. So we talked about the new features here. Now let's talk about what is Agile Connect? What do you get and what do you need in order to get this thing to work? So, just in terms of a high-level component view, there are two parts of this. One is the Salesforce connector, Salesforce app. You download that from App Exchange and install it within your Salesforce instance. And then there's a corresponding piece that needs to get installed within JIRA plugin. And these are the two components that talk to each other. So the Salesforce app is the primary driver, and you can see the communications here, user password and OAuth that are used for all the authentication. But the most significant piece is just the ability for them to communicate over HTTPS. So the two things that are required beyond you just being able to install these products are that you need to have a port open so that Salesforce can communicate with JIRA if you have firewall, etc., internally. And the second part of it is that it needs to be an HTTPS level communication. So you'll need an SSL certificate in place. But beyond that, once you configure these things and set up all of the configuration parameters, then you are ready to go. And the installation and configuration usually takes about 15 to 20 minutes, assuming that the port and the network connectivity is in place. And as I mentioned before, zAgileConnect is available on App Exchange, so all of the information that you need is there. You can actually try it. You can install it directly from App Exchange. We have a 30-day trial. The knowledge base is a reference to the documentation where you'll also find links to the corresponding JIRA plugin. And if you are going to download and try it out, then please be sure to match your JIRA version with the right kind of plugin version. Since based on JIRA versions, we have different variants of plugins available. And then finally, how can zAgile help? So, beyond you test driving it, we also provide services and support. So, beyond the features that you've looked at so far, if there are other things that you want to do in terms of customization, training, support, then we will engage with you, as well as new connectors. So we talked about Wicked Smart, which is our integration platform. So if there are other applications that you'd like to integrate on top of this, then we can also work with you on that. And then I also wanted to add the fact that right now zAgileConnect is focused around Service Cloud and the support agents. So the primary Salesforce object that it supports is case, along with account and contact, which are secondary in support of case. But we do expect to support additional objects in the near future. So if you have any specific needs around other objects like leads and accounts and opportunities and stuff, then please let us know, and we'll be sure to keep you notified of our release plans. And again, thank you everyone for joining, and we will be uploading the recorded video of this if you want to share. And please feel free to reach out if you have any additional questions.